إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله عز وجل في القرآن المجيد: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال الله عز وجل: يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. صدق الله العظيم. أما بعد. We begin by praising Allah, our Creator, our Sustainer. We praise Him and we ask for His help this Ramadan to become the best of people by the time this month ends. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for every single sin, big and small, that we've committed throughout all these years in this blessed month of Ramadan. As Muslims, we declare that nobody deserves to be worshipped besides Allah. And we declare that Muhammad was the last and final prophet and messenger that has been sent for our guidance and the guidance of all people until the end of time. Brothers and sisters, if you look at people, if you look at human beings, think about how many calories do they need to sustain themselves. Because this is something that in Ramadan, when we're going without food, we're going without drink, we're thinking about those things at some point throughout the day. And we're thinking about, when I break my fast, how much food do I need to eat? And how much food do I feel like eating? When it comes to calories, there's a difference between males and females. An average male requires about 2,500 calories a day. And the average female requires about 2,000 calories, normal, to sustain their weight. And what you find is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the male and the female different. He's created them different so they have different tendencies, they have different capacities, they have different physical features. And it also happens that the psychology or the way of feeling and the way of thinking is slightly different between the genders as well. So researchers tell us that when it comes to the number of words that males use compared to females, and of course there's always exceptions to the rule when it comes to calories and when it comes to words. But when it comes to the number of words that are being used, they say the average male speaks about 7,000 to 10,000 words per day. And the average female speaks about 20,000 to 25,000 words per day. Now some people find that funny, but what I want you to reflect upon is that that's a lot of words for everyone. We're saying a lot of things, and we're communicating a lot of feelings, and we're communicating a lot of emotions throughout the day. And what we need to realize is that even though we may say things throughout the day, even though we tend to express ourselves in different manners, there's always times where we slip. There's always times where we make mistakes. And we say things that we should not have said. We do things which we should not have done. And the easiest thing for people to slip on is their tongue. This is the month of Ramadan and we are fasting. And we hope, inshallah ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards us for going without food and going without drink, 16-hour fasts. And some Muslims have it more difficult than that. But 16-hour fasts, going without water, is not the easiest thing. It's not the easiest thing to do, especially if you're physically exerting yourself or you're doing something else in your life. There could be nothing worse. There could be nothing worse if you refrain from food and you refrain from drink, and you didn't acquire any good or any benefit out of that. You're not doing it for nothing. I'm not doing it for nothing. We're hoping for the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us in an authentic hadith narrated in the book At-Targhib wa-Targhib by Imam al-Munziri, he said, رُبَّ صَائِمٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ إِلَّا الْجُوعِ. There might be a person who is fasting and he gains nothing from his fasting except hunger. This is a very scary hadith, brothers and sisters. It's very scary. There might be a person who's fasting. He is not eating, he is not drinking, and the only thing, the only benefit he got from that fast is the fact that he got hungry. Meaning there was no reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was no change in his behavior or her behavior. Nothing changed other than the fact that they didn't eat meals that day. That's the only benefit. And the Prophet ﷺ continued and he said, وَرُبَّ قَائِمٍ لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ قِيَامِهِ إِلَّا السَّهَرِ, meaning إِلَّا التَّعَبِ. Meaning the Prophet ﷺ, he said, there might be a person, there may be more than one person, who stands up the night in prayer, like we're doing in Taraweeh prayer. And he says, the only thing that that person gets out of standing up at night is fatigue, is tiredness. What is the Prophet ﷺ trying to tell us? He's trying to tell us that the physical motions that you do is not what brings you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The external aspect of your actions, the superficial aspect of your actions, the formulaic part of your prayer and your fasting is not what fasting is truly about. But there's a deeper inner spirit there. And if you don't recognize the inner spirit, if you don't focus on what's deeper, you may get nothing but the physical difficulty that was involved in performing those acts of praying and fasting. So how can we do that? What is one of the things that we need to focus on in addition to the fact that we're not eating and drinking? The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith narrated in Sahih Muslim, he said, in Bukhari, he said, مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ وَالْعَمَلْ بِهِ وَالْجَهْلِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ أَنْ يَدَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. He said, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever doesn't give up false speech, meaning saying bad things and acting upon those bad things, and ignorant, saying just ignorant things, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of you giving up your food and drink. Allah doesn't need me and you to give up your food and drink. What He wants is for us to achieve taqwa, for us to achieve nearness to Him and consciousness of Him, so we become better people, we become better Muslims. It's not just about giving up food, but it's about getting closer to Allah. So the Prophet ﷺ saying, if you're fasting and you're not eating and you're not drinking, but your tongue is going off and you're making fun of this person, you're insulting another person, you're backbiting another person, then Allah doesn't need you to give up your food. You just left your meal for nothing. Doesn't mean you break your fast, but you're not really getting the benefit out of your fast because your tongue is going off and going off. So brothers and sisters, this is the month. This is the month where we need to be extra careful about our tongue, because the way that we're careful, we're very careful about food. Somebody comes up to you, brings a burger in front of you, brings some sweets or something, you say, no, I'm fasting, I can't do that. But then an opportunity presents itself, someone does something in front of you, and you start going off on that person. It's perhaps more difficult to control your tongue when you're fasting, because you get a little bit agitated, because you need something else to do, you're not chewing on something. So maybe you end up saying more words throughout the day. So what we need to do this Ramadan is we should focus. We should try to set a goal of at least those people who are still using foul language. It's time to quit. This Ramadan is time to quit. Whatever words you're used to using throughout the year, now is the time to give up those words. Whether it's a 4-letter word or it's a 5-letter word, whether it's prominent in pop culture, whether you hear it in the movies, whether you see it on TV, whether you're listening to it in your music, it's time to give it up. Give it up for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Give it up for the fact that your fasting may not do you any good if you continue to use this language. And if you're one of those people who's kind of working on it, but you're using substitute words. There are those who use substitute words, like they say freak instead of the other word, with the same emotive force and the same style. Or some people, they use words like shiznik, if you've heard of this word. They're trying to imply something else. It's known culturally what you mean. Just because you're using different wording, the substance is understood by the listener. It's time to give up those words as well. It's time to give up all of this junk that we've accumulated throughout the year, and we abandon it for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second thing we need to give up is we need to give up gossiping, and we need to give up backbiting. Backbiting means to speak about someone in their absence, that if they found out that you were saying that about them, they would dislike it. You make fun of someone because of their weight. You make fun of someone because of their height. You make fun of someone because of their clothing. That person, look, the old-fashioned dress that they wear. You make fun of anyone, and if they heard what you were saying, they would dislike that thing. That's backbiting. And the most common question that people ask is, say, I'm just speaking the truth, I'm not lying. The person, he plays basketball, he can't throw the ball into the basket. If his life depended on it, if someone put a gun to his head, he couldn't shoot a free throw. That's considered backbiting. Even though it's true. It doesn't matter if it's true, it's still backbiting. And if it's not true, then it's slander. But in addition to that, brothers and sisters, we need to stop listening to backbiting. What I call second-hand backbiting. Like there's second-hand smoking. When someone's smoking around you and you're breathing it in, you're being harmed by it. Well, second-hand backbiting, when someone's at a table in front of you making fun of another person, you're breathing it in. It's going into your heart. And you're sinful for standing there and not defending your brother or your sister who is being made fun of or being talked about. So it's important that we focus on this. And one of the ways to focus on it is to substitute. Substitute your time, use your tongue for things which are good and things which are beneficial. The more you busy yourself in saying nice things, the less opportunity and the less chance you have to say something bad. It's like fasting, right? We get hungry, we get thirsty, but if you keep yourself very busy, you focus on some activity, for that period of time, you're so distracted you don't think about the fact that you're not eating or drinking. If you accustom your tongue, your mouth, to saying nice words, to talking good about people, to inviting them towards good things, to remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to reciting the Quran, to saying subhanallah instead of the other weird words when something happens. When you do that, you automatically are able to substitute the bad thing that you might have potentially said, and you distract yourself so that you don't start speaking like that anymore. So this is an opportunity. Take this as an opportunity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a motivation that when we're giving up food, we're giving up drink, we're also able to control our tongue, and we're giving up foul language, we're giving up gossip, we're giving up backbiting. And also the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith narrated by Imam Muslim, he said, إِذَا أَصْبَحَ أَحَدُكُمْ يَوْمًا صَائِمًا. If one of you wakes up fasting, if you're fasting, فَلَا يَرْفُثْ وَلَا يَجْهَلْ. Don't say anything bad, don't say ignorant things. And he said, فَإِنِ امْرُؤٌ شَاتَمَهُ أَوْ قَاتَلَهُ. If somebody insults you, somebody tries to fight you, فَلْيَقُلْ إِنِّي صَائِمْ إِنِّي صَائِمْ. Someone makes fun of you, someone tries to really get on your nerves, get under your skin, what should you do? Say, I am fasting. I am fasting. Who are you saying that to primarily? If you tell a person who's making fun of you, and you tell him, you know what, I'm fasting, so I'm not going to fight you right now, so you should stop trying to fight me. It's not just for the person. It's for yourself. You're reminding yourself out loud, because that's how difficult it is to control yourself. There are some people, when they're fasting, they get very agitated. And many people probably get agitated, especially at the end of the day. They start to lose control. And if someone starts getting on their nerves or saying something, say, better leave me alone, okay, I'm fasting. That's not the point. The point of fasting was to learn self-control. Not so that you could go around saying, you know what, if you mess with me right now, you better not mess with me because I'm fasting. It should be the opposite way. It should be that I now have a level of self-control, that I'm able to control myself because of the fact that I'm fasting. There's a natural inclination that human beings have. If someone insults you, someone mocks you, someone makes fun of you, you want to protect your honor. That's understandable and that's natural. But what we need to do is we need to understand, despite the headache you may have from fasting, despite the fact that you're feeling hunger, you remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you a program where you're able to stay away from halal. In the month of Ramadan, the halal becomes haram for you in the daytime. Food is halal, but in the daytime of Ramadan it's haram. Water is halal, but in the daytime it becomes haram. Why? So that you can train yourself. If you're able to stay away from halal, you're able to stay away from haram as well. It's much easier to stay away from haram things than it is halal things, because they're real necessities of life. So if you can train yourself to stay away from what is permissible, you can also make sure that you're tough enough and strong enough and you have the willpower to stay away from things which are impermissible. So make sure, brothers and sisters, make sure you reflect upon this, make sure you benefit from your time in every single thing you do, and make sure you convey the message of Islam to other people in this month. One way to utilize your tongue for good is to convey the message to other people. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Man da'a ila huda kana lahu min al-ajri mithlu ujuri man tabi'ah." Whoever calls to a deed of righteousness, that person will get the reward of the person to whom actually performed that and the person whom they called to. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our fasting, to accept our deeds and protect our tongue. Ameen. Astaghfirullah li wa lakum wa li sa'iril muslimin fastaghfiruhu innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah, wa ba'd. Brothers and sisters, we talked about the importance of not only fasting from food and drink, but it's important that we realize fasting also consists of watching our tongues. Meaning, watching the words that we say, making sure we give up foul language this Ramadan, and making sure we're on constant guard of not backbiting or speaking bad about anyone else. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq and give us success in this. We ask Allah, oh Allah, help us and guide us at all times. Oh Allah, accept our fasting. Oh Allah, accept all of the efforts that we're making in this month. Oh Allah, do not allow this month to leave us except that you've forgiven us for every single sin that we've committed. Oh Allah, only let this month pass by that we are ready and destined to go to Jannah, to go to paradise, and we'll be protected from the fire of hell. Oh Allah, help us and guide us at all times in all things we do. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ رَبَّنَا لَا تُؤَاخِذْنَا إِن نَّسِينَا أَوْ أَخْطَأْنَا رَبَّنَا وَلَا تَحْمِلْ عَلَيْنَا إِصْرًا كَمَا حَمَلْتَهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِنَا رَبَّنَا وَلَا تُحَمِّلْنَا مَا لَا طَاقَةَ لَنَا بِهِ وَاعْفُ عَنَّا وَاغْفِرْ لَنَا وَارْحَمْنَا أَنْتَ مَوْلَانَا فَانصُرْنَا عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الْكَافِرِينَ سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. I have a few announcements, brothers and sisters, so that's why I ended early. Please wait just a moment. The first announcement is, there is an organization called the Muslim Mortuary and Cemetery Committee, and they have planned a community outreach to offer cemetery plot sales at their Islamic gardens in 4 different cemeteries around Southern California. They're a non-profit organization and they help people with burial services. So they have a table outside. Please check out their table and get this little card that you can actually keep in your wallet, that you identify yourself as a Muslim in case you pass away and no one's there to take care of you. They will ensure that you are identified as a Muslim and you can be buried properly. The next announcement is that, remember, if you don't know, we have Taraweeh prayer at 9:30 p.m. throughout the month. Fajr time is at 4:45. Every Saturday, except the last 10 nights, we have community iftar. Especially tomorrow, there will be a community iftar for the whole community. It's open for everyone. We have a Quran competition on June 18th, which is Saturday. And we have an upcoming IAOC Summer Intensive, which is a tafsir, an explanation of the 23rd juz of the Quran. And also another very important announcement. And that is, when it comes to a masjid, people view a masjid, still there are people who come in and they pray in a masjid and they walk out. And the only part of the masjid that they see is what they see around them in the prayer area. And when they leave, they think, you know what, well, I guess this is what happens in a masjid. They don't really know what happens outside throughout the rest of the day. What does a masjid actually do? Especially a masjid like the Islamic Institute of Orange County. So I want to tell you something about what this Islamic center does. This is not just a masjid, it's really an Islamic center. It's almost like an organization that's serving all the people around it. So for those of you who don't know, in addition to providing all the, the prayer services and everything that we have, this Masjid IAOC, we actually have a very solid youth program. We have a youth program on Fridays, we have a youth program on Saturdays, and we have a youth program at other times throughout the week as well. We have educational programs where we offer different intensive classes throughout the year, like this upcoming summer intensive that we have. We have people actually live streaming our videos throughout the world, alhamdulillah. So this reach, the reach that this masjid has is actually global. And many people don't realize that if you just come here, you think it's Anaheim reach, it's a Fullerton reach. It actually has a global reach. We have social programs that are actually catered to other people who need more than just education. We have da'wah programs where we actually go out and we reach out to non-Muslims and teach them about Islam. Every single month we have presentations in schools and churches, synagogues and other organizations that we actually go and we talk to people about what is Islam. Especially given the Islamophobic climate today, it's very important we understand that somebody needs to perform this work. Someone needs to go and speak to large audiences of people. And we actually have dedicated full-time staff who are doing this. And you may not have even known this unless you check out our website or unless you on one of our newsletters. We have a prison outreach program, which is actually the largest prison outreach program in the country. And I'm not exaggerating that. We went to, Yale University, where there was a symposium of chaplains. We told them about our program, what we're doing in different states, and people said, there's not a single program for Muslims like this in the entire country, not even in Canada. And it seems like it's just little IAOC, just a masjid. We're actually doing all this, and we have staff who are actually managing all of these things, where we have correspondence with inmates around the entire country. We have an entire college of Islamic studies that we started, has been going 3 years strong. And we've been educating, hundreds of people in terms of all of these things. So what I want you to understand is, in addition to the cleanliness of the masjid and all of these different programs that we offer, all of these programs are very valuable, and I think you accept them as being valuable, but they also come with the cost. And right now the cost, the budget that we have to raise in the month of Ramadan is 600,000. And you think 600,000, why? Because if you look at what we're doing, we're almost doing what some national Muslim organizations do. So it's very important, I want to give you an understanding of what IAOC does, because after the remaining salah, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to ask for your help in supporting these things so we can continue these endeavors and we can continue to expand and even do more for the Muslim community, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan wa aqimus salah.